What have you had to overcome in terms of customer perception, customer behavior to try to get them to adopt Daffy and get comfortable with it?
Well, there's a lot to do, and there's a lot still to do, because I do believe that Daffy is a bit of an outlier in the entire sector. And that, not to quibble with what you said, but as impressive as it is that the U.S. gives 471 billion to charity every year, or that over 300 billion of that comes from individuals. Talk about contrarian. We actually believe that number is too small. We actually believe that if we all put money aside for those less fortunate ourselves, we could actually be putting aside more than 100 billion extra every year, which of course adds up to being more than $1 trillion over the next decade. But that confidence isn't just playing with numbers. It comes from the original user research that Alejandro and I did when we started the company, right? So you have a lot of ideas. By the way, as an executive in residence, I had the requisite startup ideas list. I think my Google Doc was up to 82
Wow.
ideas before actually landing on Daffy. And by the way, I'll just let you know, they were not all good. Although some of them, as an angel investor, I've been able to fund on the side. But we did. You go out and talk to people. You have a hypothesis. You have to actually go talk to real people. And when I talked to a few dozen people about how they give, it was very interesting. Some things I was very wrong about. Right, like the first question I asked people was, "How much do you think people should give to charity every year?" And I knew that people would disagree, but I thought there'd be a couple common answers. There was not. You ask 25 people that question, I'd be surprised if you don't get 20 different answers. Some people use percentages, some are a little biblical, some kind of use 1%, some people use absolute numbers, some people have caveats like once you own a house, then you can afford to give. Some people, it's just religious. I always give to my church, I always give to my synagogue. So they were very consistent there. And if you ask them a second question, which is, well, how much do you think you should give to charity every year? They're pretty consistent, right? So at least as far as interviews go, most people, whatever they said everyone else should do, they say that they should do or more was the only variant. So that's great. Then the third question just floored me, though, because the third question I asked was just, how much did you actually give to charity last year? And look, people aren't good at budgeting, so I know it's a little bit of a hard question, but there was a real guilty pause there, right? Most of us were taught when we were young to realize that no matter what's going on in your life, that there are people less fortunate than yourselves, that you should be grateful for what you have, and that giving is part of being a good person. And what I could tell was there's this moment where people said, yeah, I know I'm busy. I know there's a lot going on in my life. Let's be clear, when I did this user research, there's a pandemic going on. People have families, people have work. There's plenty to do.
Yeah, it's a unique
But
time.
they felt genuinely terrible that they didn't give as much as they felt people should. They weren't living up to their own ideal. And so what we discovered, of course, well, first of all, was, software can help with that. I mean, you talked about some of the previous companies, but this idea that, if you have organizations you support, you don't have to make being busy an obstacle to making sure that you give and support them. You can automate that. But more importantly, what we realize is, as generous as people are, they're not as generous as they want to be. And, we've seen a whole range of apps in the last few years with people using software to help them be the type of people they want to be, right? Health and fitness, things like Calm and Headspace, where people kind of get in the zone of who they want to be and be balanced. Why can't an app help us be generous, right? All this software we've built, we all can shop a million ways, we save a million ways, we can invest a million ways. Why can't we make it easier to give? And we were surprised to find that the research supports this idea that actually people will give on average 32% more if they just pick a number and automate it. And so that's where the idea for Daffy was really born, and where the confidence we have that even though today, let's be clear, most people do not have a donor advised fund.
Yeah,
most people do not set a giving goal. We asked the question of why not? Why couldn't millions of people set a goal, put money aside? And then why can't we build a community where those people educate, inspire each other, and remind us all that we all actually are more generous, probably, than our actions would suggest?